Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show. This show airs every single weekend, every Saturday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have any questions over the week, go ahead and send them over to ljjohnson@gmail.com. And if you have any questions during the live airing of this episode, head on over to Twitter at the Eljay Johnsen. Fudge! 2 weeks in a row! Also using the hashtag the Eljay Johnsen Show. Nuts! I always almost have it. It's so close. I digress. For those listening live, I would like to let you know that we actually once again have the live chat, and this is once again at the request of my next guest. So let me go ahead and introduce him. Honestly, I wasn't looking forward to this, and people knew I wasn't looking forward to this. I wouldn't call it a reunion. My next guest is one of my former coworkers. We used to work together on a YouTube channel, and then there were some issues. And now he's here. I'm pretty sure you guys know him. I'm, of course, talking about Tyler Anderson, otherwise known as Mesonak. Hello, Meso.
Hello, LJ. How are you doing?
You know, I was doing reasonable.
Yeah, I was doing pretty reasonable too. But you know, it's nice to talk to you again, man. It's been a while.
Is it?
I'm very glad you came to your senses and came crawling back.
Oh, is that how you see this? I extend an
exactly how I
olive
see
branch, asking you if you want my good name next to yours, and this is
You
how
mean you
respond.
extended an olive branch asking if you could use my name for views and to boost your struggling YouTube channel establishment?
Oh, we want to talk about struggling YouTube channels now, do we? Is that how it's gonna be?
Yes, we do.
Okay, how's about we go with our 3-letter acronym, huh? Huh?
Listen, 3 letters, 3 times the views. Oh, wait, no, sorry, I'm wrong. Way more than 3 times. My bad.
I'm sorry, Meso. But 3 times 1 view is only 3 views, right? Right.
Let's end this charade.
Okay, fair enough. How's it going, dude?
It's going very well. Apparently, you're not, however. The live chat is reporting Omega lag.
Yeah, so, okay. For those that aren't lagging right now, I had an issue yesterday with, what is this called? XSplit. And, yeah, it basically caused, I had to remove all of my settings. And, yeah, so let me...
Let's fix that right quick.
Well, what is the K-bit rate that you guys use?
I forget.
Okay.
I don't do the streaming.
Fair enough.
I think doesn't it default to 4,000? And then you just turn it down from there?
Let me check.
Like maybe 2,000?
It's 2,400 right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so that's
Perhaps try turning down to 1,600?
Okay, sure, I'll try that. I wonder if it'll let me do it
Because
live.
people are reporting it's nigh unwatchable, even if it's need to restart the stream. It might be worth it.
Fair enough. Let me know, guys. Let me know how it's working now. I turned it down.
Alright, I'm keeping them apprised with a handy live chat.
Yeah,
Really
okay,
cool to
this is
have
actually a good
things like
idea.
this.
Probably
Totally
not.
my purpose.
Probably not a bad idea to have had the live chat going. Dude, there is like this thing that you can have where like it's kind of like Twitch, where they have the chat saved alongside the stream.
No way.
Yeah, it's a new thing for YouTube. I don't know how to activate it. I tried to do it last week and I couldn't figure out how.
I'm gonna have to look into that because that sounds really cool. Sounds like a good feature that should have been there always.
Yeah.
Remember back when Makuta Fest had to like record the chat separately.
Oh gosh, I remember that.
Which was kind of unfortunate. Someone says, "Hey, whoa, is it working now?" Yep, seems to have improved it.
Okay, cool. Well, guys, gals, keep me appraised. let me know. I'll be watching live chat, and awesome, great. Well, now that our technical difficulties have been squared away, Meso,
Hello, everybody.
go ahead and introduce yourself and let everyone know who you are in case they don't.
Okay, well, my name's Meso. I've been around in the Bionicle community for about 3 years. I came on board right after Hero Factory ended. You might know me from my channel, TTV Mesonak, where I'd have a lot of... I've managed to hack YouTube's algorithm and display their release date years backwards in time, because what that allows me to do is it allows me to trick search results to get high priority. So it may look like it says 8 years ago, but really it's 2 years ago. And I have such great hits like In the End Bionicle music video, which I'd really encourage you to check out because it's awesome. It's like epic Paraka like rap moments and beat drops and all sorts of awesome stuff. But I also have In the End G2 music video where Lost takes the spotlight. So that's all great, and that's what I'm known for. So go check me out.
Yeah, absolutely.
In all seriousness, I'm Meso from TTV. You probably know me. If you don't, nice to meet ya. I like Lego. I like constraction. I like talking about it. I like talking about leaks, but I don't do that anymore. I like talking about news, but I don't really do that anymore. I liked making music videos, but I don't really do that anymore. So I'm kind of just a guy.
Is there anything you do now?
I edit podcasts. Yeah. I edit a lot of podcasts.
How many podcasts?
4 podcasts.
That is a lot of podcasts.
It's a lot of podcasts.
Some might even say too many.
There's never too many podcasts.
There are too many podcasts.
Listen, there's a lot to talk about in this here world of Legos.
Oh, okay. How dare you come onto my show and use Legos? That's disgusting.
It's a perfectly valid pronunciation. How are you doing, Eljay?
I'm doing swell. Still kind of I'm recovering from that earlier episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Greatest show.
It's so
Can
good.
we talk about that instead? Can we just ditch Bonkle?
No, we can't, but we can talk about it briefly. If anyone is wondering how good Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is, Meso, you say that I'm your testament to its quality. It is so good.
Yes, it really is.
Yeah, it's...
I could talk about it for hours, but I'd probably bore all the audience who hasn't seen it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Suffice to say, it is a grand thing.
Yeah, handedly. It's
you know what isn't a grand thing? Bonkle.
Okay, Bionicle is a grand thing. Goodness. Okay, let's go ahead and get into what we are actually going to talk about. For those unaware, obviously Meso is a member of the Bionicle community, and for any of my listeners who primarily focus on my topics regarding system, which I'm really trying to get more hosts, more guests that talk about system. Bionicle is controversial in the overall community because it is not system. It's not comprised of bricks. We don't talk about those 3 years and those like 13 or so sets. It's constraction. And the constraction community is a fascinating place. So I'll try and explain any acronyms or any sayings or phrases that we use here that might attribute only to constraction. So keep along if possible, and I'm looking at the live chat. We're going to take questions from there toward the end. I'm still taking questions on Twitter, so I do highly encourage you send any over there, and we'll try and get around to them at the end of the show.
Do it. The constraction community is like an onion. It's got layers.
Yeah, it really does.
So does Eljay's streaming practices. Multiple layers.
That's technically true because XSplit.
Email, Twitter, YouTube, XSplit, Discord, live chat.
What do you mean Discord? I'm not taking questions from Discord.
No, I'm just saying we're hosting it on Discord.
Yeah,
we're on Discord right now. There are other ways, other consolidated ways. I'm just mocking you, don't worry.
Okay,
go on
Appreciate
with your intro.
Okay, well, no, that was about it. Let's just go ahead and dive on in. So,
all right.
Go ahead and start us off. what is it that you specifically wanted to discuss pertaining to the Bionicle community and maybe Constraction at large?
I want to discuss why the community is terrible, why it's not real Lego, and why Bionicle should never come back, and instead Hero Factory should come back and be made into a theatrical movie with a higher budget than the Lego Ninjago movie. And I have a 3-page essay for each one of those points, along with subsections for the Hero Factory thing. So how do you want me to start it first? You want me to read it off in like order of importance, or I warned you it might go for 2 hours.
Okay, fair enough. Let's.
No. Just joking. I want to talk about the Bionicle community and a lot of the issues that it has, and a lot of the status of how we're doing after G2.
Let's go ahead and start off on that latter point. Because Bionicle, for anyone unaware, lasted for about a decade. You know, there are 2 different ways you can look at its starting and ending points, but I traditionally believe it ran for 10 years straight, and it was canceled in 2009, ended officially in 2010, and then there was kind of a lapse for about 5 years, where Bionicle just wasn't a thing, and the community was doing whatever it had to survive, and then it came back in 2014, 2015, and it ended again in 2016. So, where are we now, Mesa?
Where are we now? Well, it's 2018. We're 2 years after Bonkle ended. Almost 2 years. 2-year anniversary is in July, right? June or July?
Well, it got canceled on like July 31st-ish.
Oh.
Going into August. Because it was like the next day where we all got on a plane and went to Brick Fair.
Yeah. Okay, so we're almost to the 2-year anniversary. And I think we're doing okay. Maybe? It's a little hard to tell. Quantifying how a community is doing is a little bit difficult because it's kind of arbitrary. Like, are there still posts talking about Bionicle? Yes. Are there still mocks being made about Bionicle? Yes. Are there still large, crazy group projects that may or may not go anywhere? Yes. All that is the Bionicle community staple. All that is still mercifully here. How is everybody feeling? How's everybody doing? That's another matter entirely. I think morale in the Bionicle community might be at an all-time... Well, not all-time low. It's pretty hard to top the first cancellation as far as...
That was rough.
Individuals. That was really rough.
Yeah.
Because it was uncharted territory. Nobody knew, like, if there was going to be another theme, and there were all the false promises about the serials continuing. I'd say half as bad right now, but there are a lot of sad people out there. There are a lot of aimless people. The general CCBS community also isn't doing too crazy. But that's another discussion we may or may not want to get into.
I think
Star Wars constraction figure.
It is slightly related to today's topic.
Okay, just in short, there's a lot of rumors going around. We'll call it that. That constraction as a whole might be completely dead. Mm-hmm. As in, no more sets. As in, like, Star Wars constraction is over. Lego hasn't made official announcements or anything. It's just rumors. But that is also affecting morale and how people are feeling about things.
Yeah, now, we've always kind of had rumors floating around like this, that Constraction's just on the verge of death, because, you know, people occasionally like to fearmonger things. However, this one is a little more substantial, given that we have some kind of related issues regarding some of the sets, and some numbers aren't adding up, and some reputable individuals are claiming that we're not going to be getting certain sets, which would lead one to, some might say correctly assume, that Constraction is pretty much getting the kibosh put on it.
Pretty much. So at that point, it's like, okay, Bionicle ended for the second time. Star Wars Constraction was its successor, quote unquote, even though I think they were running concurrently. And now that's gone too. So yeah, people aren't really feeling too good. There's always been kind of a negative stigma about it. And now people are just like, well, it's over. And that's kind of a hollow feeling if it's true. Contrary to the time before, I don't really have an impassioned speech to make people feel better about CCBS ending entirely. If that actually does go through and ends up happening, well, it kind of sucks. Yeah. That's all I really have to say about it. It's like it got put on life support, and then they're pulling the plug on it. Hopefully it's not true, but it probably is true.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's always possible for it to come back because, they did put a lot into the CCBS building system. I mean, that's a little redundant, the
A lot of money.
CCBS. And what was that?
Yeah. A lot of money, a lot of parts, a lot of budget put into that build system.
Yeah, so I don't think they just completely scrap it, but yeah, it's leaving everyone feeling quite discontent about things.
Particularly Eurobricks. Eurobricks, the construction community, is either imploding or imploded, depending on who you ask. So they're feeling really bad because that's where this all is sourced from. The TTV message boards, we've kind of accepted our fate a long time ago, and then BZP is also doing their thing. Everyone's kind of just down at the moment.
Yeah, I figure we can kind of go over all the different communities because I've had the great privilege of getting to join all sorts of different facets of the Bionicle communities, kind of after TTV, the BCC, the Bionicle subreddit, Bionicle mask posting, their Discord server, Biog or BioG. I don't really actually know how it's pronounced. The Bionicle 4chan, and it's really fascinating how everyone has reacted and kind of gone forward after Bionicle has ended again. And so I guess we'll start. How are you doing? How's TTV?
We're okay. We, as I said, when G2 got canceled, and when I was trying to make everybody feel better, I don't know if it worked. I was like, we've kind of been through this before, and you know how it was when the Bionicle got canceled the first time. That was really rough. However, we lasted for 5 years in a Bionicle-free zone, and despite what I would like to believe in my head about how good Hero Factory was, if you actually go back and listen to the TTV podcast for those 5 years, we didn't talk about Hero Factory much. It's kind of surprising, actually, if you go back and listen. It was a topic, but it was not, there just wasn't enough there to constitute long-hour podcast discussions because there wasn't really a story. With Star Wars, there's no story at all because it's based on Star Wars. So you might think that would be worse, but mercifully we have embraced system as well. And thankfully Ninjago is doing really, really, really good right now. So there's a lot of material to talk about in that space. CCBS, though, it's just kind of, whenever it's brought up in TTV, it's just kind of like, well, what do we talk about? Here's a new Star Wars set. Is it a black armored figure or is it a tan armored figure? Oh, it's black. Well, does it have a cape? Yeah, it has a cape. Oh, well, all right, sure. Dorky head mold, check. There really isn't a lot to say.
Come on, man. Darth Maul's cool.
No. Don't you dare. If anybody saw the Brickfeed episode where I tear into Darth Maul, he is the Avmatoran personified into a new era.
What? You're telling me that wasn't clickbait?
It was not. It was honest.
Yeah, a lot of people
honest feelings.
A lot of people, when that came out, in a lot of the servers I was in, they thought, oh, wow, look, more clickbait. It's another Logan Paul situation. But having talked to you about it, I knew, well, no, this one's honest this time, guys.
To be completely fair, I did put Solek in the video. That was a thing I did. Like, in the thumbnail, Solek was there. It's just kind of like a wink and a nod because I was talking about Avmatoran. And I was like, oh, I'll put Solek there for laughs. But I did actually mention them in the video, too. So.
Yeah, so it's honest. He is a man of integrity, guys. Really. So,
Only on Tuesdays.
It's not Tuesday.
But Brickfeed was recorded. No, it wasn't. I was joking. It was recorded on Thursday. The
Great.
joke falls apart when you realize that.
Yeah.
So basically, to answer your question, we're okay.
Okay. Fair enough.
We've weathered the storm of cancellations twice. If this news really comes true, it won't surprise anyone.
Yeah. And I feel that at this stage of the game, unless you are incredibly invested and you have a community that is really, really invested in doing Bionicle content, because there's a lot to pull from Bionicle. So you really need to have a community that's focused on making content based off of that. Unless you have that, I think that it's difficult to supplement your group and your community without system.
Yeah, definitely. Look, even in the modern era, if constraction comes back, like hypothetically they do a new theme, I guarantee it will be kind of like the Nexo Knights battle suits. I think those were early, they were rough, but I think that is the direction that they are going. I think they're inching their way closer to that system as a baseline with articulation. So, go figure.
I can see that, and they, we have a lot more mechs now, although the larger ones have less articulation, just inherently due to their design.
Let's not talk about that. That's another thing I can rant about.
Listen, man, Fire Mech is cool.
Hulkbuster is not.
No.
It's well built.
BZ Power. They are weathering as much as they can. Fun fact, for anyone interested and listening live, they have the live stream about an hour after, about 5 p.m. Eastern. So, go ahead on over that. Check that out. BZ Power has done a really great job in community give back. They constantly do giveaways or raffles or all sorts of stuff to where if you're interested and you want a chance of getting stuff, just like constraction stuff, Lego kind of just really dumped all their excess on them.
Oh, yes, they did. You can always check it out on BZ Power's Twitter if you're interested. They get just large pallets full of construction sets. They gave me Jin Erso for free. They were like, hey, giving away figures for free, just pay shipping. And I was like, cool, I'll take off like a $5 Jin Erso.
Yeah.
And I was so grateful because I never would have bought that set otherwise.
Yeah. So I think, but I don't think that it's necessarily cruel to say that, as with most of the construction community, BZ Power has slowed down a lot. And
I mean, there's a topic on BZP that's like, is BZ Power dying? And like every single person in it for like 2 pages says yes, it's either dying or it's dead. But at the same time, from an outsider, you look at that and you're like, oh, so someone made a topic and you have 2 pages of posts. Is that dead? Well, maybe it's not as much as it used to be, but there is still a dedicated crowd of people on BZP that likes the place and stays there. So they have that going for them. And also, because of the prizes and because of all the giveaways and the live streams, they've carved out a place that's unique to them. So people will still follow them no matter what. Even if one day the forums just die and they become just like a news blog, which is a reality I can see happening, people will still go there and they'll still get traffic on the site just to like stay in tune with the raffles and the giveaways and whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I actually think that BZ Power, not only I've mentioned this before, I think, but they are historically the most important Bionicle website, I think, that had been made. And not even necessarily because of what they do nowadays, but I do think that they are a good news resource. They do implore great upkeep when it comes to staying on top of news. But just historically speaking, all that happened, how intrinsic they were with the Bionicle community, and how much history you can still glean from it.
They were definitely at the center of everything. Which was a thing that was interesting when they went down. But that's a topic for another day.
That's a topic that will probably be unlisted, yeah.
They were definitely very important. Yeah, nobody can take that away from them.
No. As far as Facebook is concerned, I'm not part of the mask posting Facebook group. I didn't even know they existed. So sorry, Diggy.
Posting is rising up the ranks.
Apparently, did you know they have 15,000 members?
What the?
I know, right? 15,000 members in the mask posting Facebook group.
I mean, that totally makes sense. Like, social media is where it's at nowadays, and it's a lot easier to organize members on Facebook than, say, like Tumblr. So,
yeah,
credit where credit is due.
It's incredible, and I know that they're active. I'm not in the group, but I know they're super active, and they have the podcast, the Lime Joint podcast, which I was on recently with actually one of your good friends, Kopaka Naika 122, I think.
Oh God. Me and
Yeah.
that guy had a falling out, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we got into an argument because like I prefer Matoro, but
Oh,
he likes
no.
Kopaka, and I also tried to disagree with him and say it was really pronounced Inika, and he flipped out at me.
Oh,
I don't know. I didn't even watch the podcast. I'm sorry.
no, I understand. I didn't know. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, mass posting, they're doing really well, and they are actually kind of part of my point that you need to have a very dedicated group of people who are focused on the Bionicle theme, contribute into it, regardless of whether or not we actually have new content.
True enough. It's like I said in my epic inspirational top moment speech.
Number 2 top moment.
Top moment. That wasn't a cheap gimmick. So long as you give back in a positive way, you really don't need to hope for anything more. Like if you do a crazy fan project like Trial by Tahu or whatever, just to throw out an example that Parecki did, I'm gonna remember that far more than I will ever remember, I don't know, the set Storm Beast. That might be a controversial opinion, but what Lego does only goes so far, especially if it's not of the highest quality it could be. But what you take with that and then create it and put it back out there into the ecosystem of the community, it could potentially have a longer lasting impact.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of something I'd like to talk about. The sets is a more radical example. I understand Lego sells products. I mean, maybe something a bit closer to home. That one graphic novel they did. I'm going to remember Parecki's animations way more than I'm going to remember the first Bionicle graphic novel. Could you tell me what that graphic novel was in G2? What it contained?
So the G2 graphic novel.
Yeah, the first one. What impression did it leave on you?
Liwa found out he could fly.
Awesome.
And Kopaka, he slipped.
Great. In the graphic novel?
Yeah, no, in the graphic novel.
Wow.
And also, Lost got himself handed to him again.
Indeed. It was a complete rehash. So that's kind of my controversial belief, one of many that I'll hopefully get a chance to get into on this episode. And that is, Bionicle is a creative thing. A lot of people undervalue stuff, and they're like, oh, I'm not the best mockist in the world. I'm not the best artist. My stories aren't great. But if you do them and you practice and you put that back out there, then people will check it out. And even if your stuff isn't the best it could be yet, they'll give feedback and you build upon that and you can improve completely free from the shackles of something like official Bionicle, where you got to worry about all this extraneous meta stuff that some people might not even care about, like marketing and advertising and outreach and app games and blah blah blah. And you can build upon your own skill set completely free of all that stuff. Lego, if they were allowed, the set designers they have up there could make some awesome killer sets and mocks and models that are just really creative and complex and well built, but they couldn't actually be made into sets. Instead, we get stuff like Ketar.
Ugh.
You know what I mean? Because that's what can translate into a set. There's a ceiling, and I don't think. My opinion is the community is more important, basically.
Mm-hmm. And I can
not everybody agrees, and that's fine.
I can understand how that's a bit of a controversial stance, given that.
It is.
Especially given, like, for someone like me, who believes that the core pillar, the absolute core of the series, the theme, is the sets. And the sets have to come from Lego because Bionicle is a Lego theme. I think that has a lot of importance, but I certainly see where you're coming from. And I don't necessarily disagree because the community has just made some.
We can quibble for an hour on like the definition of the word core. Mm-hmm. I agree that they are the most important thing because without a product to sell, none of the other stuff gets created.
Yeah,
I'm with you there. But then you start to get into like, well, what's a core? Is it like if you took the Bionicle sets away, you'd still have the story and all that, and that's what sets it apart from something like Hero Factory. But that's another debate that would take way too long.
Yeah, but there's a lot of importance to the community, and especially if the community is constantly making things and striving to either better the content they were given or make better content.
Yeah, totally.
So, absolutely. And then
And that people have been doing that. That is a thing, by the way. I can't take credit for it because people were doing that while G2 was ongoing and before it started, but the community hasn't stopped. There's still a lot of artists and authors and mockists out there. And there are even big ambitious group projects like Red Star Gaming, which I don't know if they're public.
they're not.
So sorry.
They will be soon.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Then the mysterious Red Star Gaming. Woo!
Woo! Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this is as good of a segue as any to get into the issue with it being community-centric.
It's not as good of a segue as any if you say the word segue.
Awesome. It's been a while since I've said segue.
Pretty true.
But there's only one main issue to having everything so community-centric. And that's when the community kind of turns on itself.
Yes.
And I feel like right now that's a rather topical thing to touch upon. And I know you have a lot to say about it.
I do, yes. How long are we allowed to go on for today? I know you usually cap at an hour. Are we allowed to go past that?
I've gone past it before. My longest episode was last week at like an hour and 40 minutes because Kevin is just so much fun to talk and listen to, so you're good.
Well, no promises that it'll go for that long, but I do have a lot to say about it. Do you want to like give your thoughts or preempt me a little bit?
I'm going to use you as a springboard.
Where are you coming from?
Okay, fair enough, actually. So, as of late, given the whole constraction concern with it ending, you've been telling me about some of the stuff happening on Aerobricks. Now, Aerobricks is primarily, for anyone who doesn't know, a system message board. And they do have a subform for constraction. And recently, so I've come to understand that has been, I don't know if the word exploding or imploding works better.
I think it's a graveyard that got, I think it's the G2 graveyard that all the zombies came up from and then like started fighting amidst each other and then got knocked off the cliff by like one lone person flying around and then everybody came and like beat them up. That's basically what it is. It's really depressing every time I go over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and from what I've seen or heard, people have been saying. Now, I've heard a lot of this. Honestly, there are even some people who would come into a Bionicle Discord chat room and say, "Oh, you guys are all losers," even though they're a prominent member of the Bionicle community. Which, even if you try and back that up logically, that's a really jerk thing to do. And people then say, "Well, the Bionicle community, or the constraction community, is toxic in comparison to other parts of the LEGO community." And I'm going to go ahead and let you springboard off of that.
Okay. Well, is the Bionicle community toxic? Well, I don't think you can really write off an entire community in that way, especially not one that's spread out over multiple websites. Because, like, how do you quantify that? Just an attitude of negativity? Well, what if Eurobricks is super negative, but the TTV message boards is a fun place, and people have fun memeing on 4chan? It's like, that's 2 out of 3, but it's like Eurobricks is really toxic. So, does that mean the Bionicle community is? I don't know. I think that every community has good and bad. Every community has people that, you know, don't do discussion well. Every community has jerks. Every community has really positive, naive young kids. You know, it's a balance. It's split very evenly. I will say that the Bionicle community does have a higher ratio of jaded people than, say, something like Ninjago or Chima or even Nexo Knights or Hierofact. Well, maybe not Hierofact, right? Or Exoforce or any of other LEGO's themes, simply because it's been running for a long time and there has been a lot of negative stuff that has happened to us, like 2 cancellations, like, Greg saying he's going to continue the serials, but then not continuing the serials. G2, they dug up its corpse and then paraded it through the streets and then like threw it off a cliff. So there are bad things that have happened to make people go, well, maybe this place isn't so great. However, the thing on Eurobricks that happened, people were like, well, constraction is over. This sucks. And people were like, good riddance. I saw this coming. Constraction's been on the downward spiral for a while. Lego always hated Bionicle, and just these ridiculous statements like that. And I'm like, okay, whoa. Cool it down, man. This isn't that bad of a situation, and why does it make you feel better about Constraction ending to just like kick salt into other people's eyes? And I'm 100% guilty of this myself, by the way, because when I was a naive, young, impressionable youth, I was a master troll.
Oh, yeah.
And when Bionicle got canceled the first time, I had been saying it was going to be canceled for months, because I was in the inner leak circle and I knew the score. So I tried to warn people, and they were like, shut up, Meso, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just a liar. So when it actually came true, I boasted a little bit.
You partied on the podcast.
I partied a little bit. And that was really jerkish of me, I will admit. The only justification I have is that I had about 4 months to come to terms with it. I'd gotten my sadness out, I'd accepted my fate, and I was trying to convince other people so they wouldn't be as hurt as I was. Didn't work, and I did feel a little bit vindicated. So maybe that's what's going on here, but I don't think so. It's a complex issue, because we haven't even touched, like, is Bionicle real Lego or not?
Oh, yeah, which I'd love to. The offer is still out for anybody that believes that Bionicle isn't real Lego. For any reason. I've heard different reasons as to why. You're welcome to be on this show, to discuss it, not argue it. Have a discussion. We'll talk about it. We'll debate points. Just reach out to me, and we'll schedule it. But continue.
Yeah. There's a comment from Shadow Gear 6335 is listening. Thank you for coming on today, by the way.
Yeah, seriously.
It's good to see you. His contribution, he posted it in the chat. I feel it's important to acknowledge. He says, the community made me feel like an outdated mockist who could never improve. Despite knowing it was hyperbolic, having a large concentrated group of individuals currently makes me feel unwelcome. That's a good point. In the mocking community, there are definitely a lot of people who do think that way. There's a lot of debate over mocking, principles. Typically, a lot of people like to harp on female mocks a lot, but it goes beyond that. I've seen stuff throughout the years. I've been in the community, people who don't think you should mix system with Bionicle. Doing that makes you a traitor. There's like purism. That's a whole debate. There's been debates over 3D printed pieces and custom painted parts, female mocks, etc. First of all, Shadow Gear, Brendan, you're one of the best mockists I've ever seen in my life.
Agreed.
I'd be a bit biased because I'm a fan of yours, but just saying.
All right, listen, I don't think I'm ever going to forget looking both years at his mocks and going, I could never do this. I feel like this is a moment I'm never going to forget, being able to look at how intricately well-designed these things are, and also kind of seeing the aftermath of one of them fall over. That was kind of fun too, but not because of a dislike. It's because it just was like, wow, so that's one side of the table and then here's the other. It's a fascinating
just the discrepancy between them. Both him and Elira. I don't know why people would be like so critical towards people who are just trying to give back. It helps that you guys are talented. That also helps. But even if you weren't great mockists, even if there are people in the community who are just trying to improve, I don't get why people would go out of their way to tear people down, because that goes for both creativity and also what's going on Eurobricks right now. It's supposed to be a positive thing. We're all just sitting around typing or talking about toys. I don't get why it has to be super negative. There's enough of that in the real world.
Yeah.
But it is a thing, and there are, to summarize, I've rambled enough, there are a few things that have happened in the Bionicle community that have made people more jaded than others. I can kind of get why someone would call it more toxic than other things, but I don't think that's fair, really.
Yeah, I think you really did sum it up. I think the Bionicle community is incredibly jaded, and I can say at one point I was like that too. It's like, oh man.
Same.
Heck, even in 2009 I was like that, which was really dumb in retrospect because it's like, oh
Those
no.
stupid Kotori.
Yeah. For those unaware, in 2009, the Bionicle series from '01 to 2008 was in one location, and then we were kicked out in 2009 for a soft reboot. So a lot of people were angry about that. It's like, yeah,
All
so
new characters, new locations, etc.
and then it got canceled like a year later. So it's kind of a double whammy of disappointment if you were a longtime fan.
It's really bad.
But, I see that a lot of people have a lot of reason to be jaded about it, but your point is incredibly valid, and that's something I've been trying hard to do, with this channel specifically. It's not focused so much on how things suck or how bad things went. Oh, haha, Bionicle sold well. Bionicle's a failure. Boo-hoo. Bionicle was whatever you really want it to be, but I liked it a lot. I still like Lego. It is my primary hobby. And if you don't enjoy your hobby or talking to others about your hobby, you might need to find another one, because it's clear that you're not having fun anymore if you're just going out to try and tear other people down.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is around the period of, when Bionicle got canceled the first time, it was about 4 years in when I started to deal with Hero Factory's 3 consecutive years of cliffhangers. And that was immensely frustrating. There was a time when I was like, all right, I need to spread out a little bit. The Lego community is too suffocating to be the only thing I do. And and all the themes I follow just keep getting met with terrible fates. And that was when I started to fully explore like the Marvel community, the Halo community, gaming, etc. There was a point where I felt the need to diversify for my own sake, and that might play a role in why I'm not as affected by it as I used to be. I don't know, but I don't think it's healthy to have only one thing you like and to focus on that so much that when it inevitably suffers a bad day or something goes wrong, it's like the end of your entire world.
Yeah.
That's no good, because everything goes through trouble. Nothing is perfect. Ninjago was riding high on its massive sales, and audiences loved it, and then the movie happened, and now it's like, oh well, now there's this blemish on the record.
Yeah.
A lot of people were let down by that, but look at it. It's rebounded. Sons of Garmadon is like the best season ever, so there you go.
So good. so good. Yeah, no, exactly. Definitely branch out to other things, like, well, heck, I think the reason it didn't really affect me too much was because right around the time it ended the second time, A, you and I were used to that. B, we also did, you branched out, I branched out in other things like the aforementioned Halo, Minecraft even. And C, for us, it was convenient because right at that same time, I saw earlier Waj fact-checked, Bionicle G2 ended, or was officially announced to be canceled on July 29th, 2016. And we flew out to Virginia August 1st. So we got wrapped up in all of that and got to see, for probably the first time, the rest of the Lego community in person. Because
it was very eye-opening.
Seriously, because obviously no disrespect, but TTV is in a bubble of a bubble. And getting out of that, I realized there's just this massive community. There are so many other communities, and I'm so happy to have been able to see them. And there are all these different things with the system communities. I'm trying to get involved and learn more about that. And that is important to do, because not only should you be branching outside of Lego, but branch outside of whatever theme that you're in and check everything else out. It's fascinating. It's honestly really cool, and it really does help.
When Bionicle got canceled the second time, it felt like we were crawling out of a cave, and we had no light. And then it was like 2 consecutive shocks. It was like, first there was air, and second there was light, and we got to see the world for the first time. That's what Brick Fair felt like. It was so cleansing.
Yeah.
And it really put things into perspective. It's like, okay, so this one thing we like is over, but look at the billion other things that are out here that are cool and awesome.
Yeah. And I think that perspective is important to have. So
yeah. I feel like Dark Takanuva's comment is quite great. Rip Exoforce, you had knees. I completely agree. Rest in peace. We knew thee well.
Yeah, like, I can't help but agree, about the knees, but I understand why there aren't. I really do. Having spoken with Tooth Dominoes and really getting an understanding for that. But
Is there anything else you want to like branch off from here, or can I like cut to the next big thing, which is like Bionicle just in general?
I'll go ahead and end it with just keep your options open. I don't think either of us are saying just completely give up on Bionicle. Be invested.
Not at all. Far from the contrary.
Yeah, exactly. Keep invested. Keep enjoying it, but you have to have fun. And if you don't feel like you're getting out of what you're putting in, as far as enjoyment, then
You need to bail.
yeah, you need to branch out. You need to look into other things, because if you're not enjoying it, you're defeating the point.
And that perpetuates this quote-unquote toxic atmosphere. It's really just a bunch of people who aren't having fun anymore.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
all it is. If they did something else, maybe they'd feel better and they could put Bionicle into perspective. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Also, don't go into chat rooms and call people losers, and say, "Oh, don't worry, guys, it's okay because I'm saying I'm a loser too." That you're not proving a point. You're just being a jerk. Everyone's here for a hobby and to enjoy it. I think that's fair. So, okay, let's go ahead and cut into Bionicle as a whole. Go for it.
It's kind of an interesting branch because, people say, well, what if this is like the most irritating thing? And it's what sparked the whole speech I made. Because a lot of people were like, wow, Messa, you were like really passionate about that. And it sounded like you'd thought about it or maybe scripted it. It's like, I didn't script it, my Bionicle G2 speech, but the ideas had been mulling around in my head for a while. To this day, I don't think I particularly articulated well what I was trying to get across. I think I might have, because people did get the message, but I don't think so. Let me put it into perspective. Ever since Bionicle got canceled the first time, I've seen, I don't want to make mocks. That's not good enough. I want to do petitions. I want to do bring back Bionicle clubs. And I want to dedicate my sole existence on the internet to campaigning for LEGO to recognize and bring back Bionicle, because unless Bionicle is being sold, this community has no purpose. It has no point. It's just a place of people wasting their time. We should be doing something productive. And that is the most ludicrous thing that I've ever heard in my life. And it was those kind of people who I could not tolerate to hear that again when G2 got canceled, which is why I did the whole speech thing. The petitions don't work. Even if they do, like say with Ninjago. Ninjago came back due to audience outcry, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a thing. It was massive. It was unprecedented, according to all we have heard. It was the largest public outcry in LEGO history. Bionicle G1, there were a lot of disappointed people. There were a lot of petitions. LEGO knew that people liked Bionicle. They were not in the dark about that. Ninjago was an untested thing. It might have just been a fluke. So when people were that upset about it, it was probably a shock to them. But Bionicle had been going for 10 years. It was LEGO's first major story-driven theme. They knew it had a fan base. You didn't need the petitions. They canceled it for a reason. And we know for a fact, by 2011, they were already trying to bring it back. How do I know it's 2011? Because the concept art showed Hero Factory 2.0 heads in the art book. That was 2011. By 2012, they moved back to Clitorian heads.
Yeah.
Just saying. So a year after it was canceled, they were already brainstorming how to bring it back. All the petitions did was annoy people. And it took time away from actual positive change and creativity. And it funneled all that energy into these, I consider them negative pursuits. And with G2, we have a very similar thing. We're like, well, now G2's dead, Constraction might also be dead. So what do we do now? And I see a lot of people still saying, well, could Bionicle come back one day? What do you think, LJ? You want to see Bionicle back? As a fan, you want to see it come back?
No. I'm happy with the
No,
memories
not
I've
even at
had,
all.
but no, I think we're done.
You don't want a seventh Leva set, really?
Okay, now you've got me counting in my head. So there were 4 in Generation 1, 5, 6. Wow. That was impressive.
I just completely guessed. That was just a complete guess. I just threw a number out there.
That's
Go
a
me!
completely accurate guess. Good job.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't want Bionicle back. The only way I could want Bionicle back is if it was a system theme. And it doesn't have to be our system theme for all you people out there who might not be big on Brickonicle. But I do think Bionicle could flourish in a system-based atmosphere. I think if there's one thing that our fan project over at TTV has showed, it's at least you can make Bionicle-looking characters as minifigures. I think that's one positive thing you can take away from it. As a construction line, I don't really want to see it back. There's a myriad of reasons for that. Number one, it's been done. There's a lot of negative stigma associated with it. But number two, it's a little bit complex. And I might rant. Is that okay, LJ?
That is more than acceptable.
Okay. This is probably the most controversial thing I'm ever going to say, so don't hate me. For all you Bionicle fans out there, I think Bionicle's success was a fluke. I almost said joke, but it wasn't a joke. It was very serious. It saved Lego. But I think it was luck. I'm not discounting the talented people in the Bionicle team who designed sets and crafted a story and concept art. I'm not saying like Greg Farshty lucked into telling a good story, but I do think that at least some of the factors that have made Bionicle so beloved were complete happenstance and can't be replicated. The number one example of that is Menog. I'm not saying Menog drove product sales and saved Lego, but I don't think it is a fair... I feel it is very fair to say that Menog is one of the major things that has helped create Bionicle's legacy in the community. People always point to that as being the best thing it has to offer. For years, people were like, Meso, you've never played Menog? You should play Menog. So I finally played Menog with you. We had a great Let's Play, and it was a very enriching experience. And I 100% believe it deserves the hype as being the thing that sets Bionicle apart from everything else. I don't know how many of you know this. Menog was a fluke. That's not me hypothesizing. That is proven. And it was all sourced from a Templar Studios blog post, which if you haven't checked out Templar's blog, you really should. They go really in depth into the creation of Menog. They have a lot of behind the scenes concept art. I'm going to link the blog post I'm referencing in the live chat. Oh, I can't do links. Well,
Give it to me. I probably can.
Okay. If you can't, at least you can like put it in the description or whatever. Either way,
Sure.
One or the other, there will be a link coming to all of you guys that's going to get into Menog's history.
Yeah,
but I'll read you a snippet of it. In 2000, Templar was given a style guide and a story bible that outlined the first few years of Bionicle, which is interesting to me because wasn't it planned to only run for 1 year?
Initially, but Greg kind of sort of... I use petition lightly, but petitioned Lego to run it further, so it got expanded.
Was Greg involved in Bionicle in 2000?
Great question. I'm not entirely certain. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say yes, but I cannot verify that with absolute certainty.
Because Templar might be mixing dates here, but either way, point being, they were given a very broad thing of the story. They say it was only including the key events relating to the Toa and their struggle against Makuta. Because LEGO didn't plan for Menog to be a big deal. LEGO planned to tell the story through 3 facets: a PC game, a movie, and comics. And that was going to communicate the main Bionicle story with the Toa. Menog and Templar, that was just going to be a story-driven game, yes, but all the existing elements of the Bionicle story were off-limits to Templar as they were being held for the main media components. The only elements left over, and I quote, were a handful of secondary characters no one cared about, misfits and comic relief characters that were, at best, footnotes in the style guide. Even the products themselves weren't of any significance to LEGO, as they were one-off figures you could get for free with Happy Meals at McDonald's as a promotion and not for sale. Their entire role was as innocent denizens that the Toa could heroically save from time to time. Since we were far away from the story writers in London and even farther from the main product team in Denmark, we were in effect a sideshow of a sideshow in the whole process. There was a creative director at LEGO named Russell Stoll who believed in Templar, and essentially he convinced LEGO to let them break the story first as a teaser, and then let the movie, PC game, and comics take over. So he's why Mesonak came out when it did. A few episodes in, though, an ironic thing happened. Both the movie and the PC game fell through and didn't get made. So as Templar continued on, with only brief glimpses of the Toa from time to time, they delved into these minor characters, the Tahunga, while LEGO lost its main two arteries for communicating the main story. It fell to them, but they were still focused on the Tahunga. Fortunately, they did manage to go through with the comics and brought in the talented writer Greg Farshtey later on to get the main Toa parts of the story across in the books. He's the writer of the blog doesn't mention Kathy Hopka, so she can't be discounted. She was a thing at that time.
Yeah, to real quickly cut in here, Greg did start at LEGO in 2000.
Well, there you go. Timeline lines up. They mentioned, fortunately, we had good folks like Russell and Leia Weston, who also joined around that time, backing us up there. It was always their intention to have a mysterious, atmospheric, mist-like quality to it, and our inclination for shrouding parts of the story in mystery was easily accommodated as we were actually instructed not to reveal major plot points. And most ironically of all, it was both literally and metaphorically the powerless little Tahunga that ended up being the heroes after all, as they stepped in to rescue LEGO's failed media efforts. That suited me fine. Cardboard cutout heroes that never lose and always save the day were never my thing anyway. I much prefer underdogs, the ones with fears and faults and dreams, like the Lee Coronin who's afraid of flying, or the dense brute Tepu who kept digging because he wanted to see flowers. The little Tahunga, Matoran, were the kids that saved Maranui, and it was you kids, because you got it and made it popular, that saved Bionicle. That has always been my favorite thing Bionicle related. It's always been the most inspiring and the most enlightening thing that I've ever read, because the point I'm building to here is everybody building, yeah, Lego. Everybody went into G2 and they were like, this is really disappointing. There's no world building. Why is the story only focused on the Toa? Why aren't we getting any glimpses into Okotan Island life? Why aren't we following any villager characters? Why aren't we seeing things like architecture and Rahi and, learning about this place, learning what it's like to be on Okoto past just this vague sense of danger? It's because that LEGO doesn't do that. LEGO never did that. That was Templar. Yes, they communicated it in other ways, the books and the comics, but the thing that people always point to as the thing that made Bionicle unique, everybody points to Mesonak as being the greatest thing since sliced bread. LEGO had nothing to do with that. Nothing whatsoever. That was all Templar Studios. They didn't do anything with G2. They haven't done anything with Bionicle since 2005, right?
Templar 2004.
2004, there you go. So, in hindsight, with the benefit of hindsight, is it really a shock that none of that stuff was prevalent? I don't think it is. I think it makes perfect sense. Again, I'm not saying that Templar is the reason why Bionicle sold well and became a profitable theme. That was all the products, the sets. I am saying that Mesonak influenced the community's perception of Bionicle and its greatest attributes and its best qualities. And when LEGO did not even do anything to attempt to follow that up in G2, I don't think it's a shock that what happened and the community turned on it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Point being, if they come back in the future with something else, you've got to understand Bionicle as a franchise will always be clouded by the expectation of what came before. There will always be that attitude people approach it with of it has to be like it was before. You can take that too far, but I think at baseline there is something to be said for expecting a level of quality. And I don't think that LEGO has any intention of replicating what happened before, because that was never their intention. They intended for a movie and a game which was always just going to tell the Toa story. I have more, but I'll let you a break to. I'll give you something to say your piece. I'm sure you have some stuff to say.
Not a whole lot. I feel like you're summing it up pretty nicely.
Disagree with anything?
Well, I as many people in the comments have reminded me, I'm quoted as saying that Monog was a mistake. But that was mostly done in jest for the sake of comedy. But yeah, honestly, I think that really drives your point home, that it's not necessarily up to LEGO to make Bionicle great, to make it enjoyable for a lot of people. That if you just do a good job telling the story and having your characters do things that are expected of them, but still like diving in deep and learning more about them and expanding on the content, then you don't need the product to be there, even though it's still, obviously the driving force behind the Bionicle name, in a sense, because, it's still a product. And it really goes to show you how even the best laid plans kind of end up like this. So I'll let you continue. There's not a whole lot I have to add to that.
Well, I think, I'm not, there are layers to this. Like the Toa, they could be interesting enough characters to carry the theme on its own. Like Ninjago, the ninja are interesting enough. You don't need to see the perspective of random, denizens on Ninjago City to appreciate the storytelling that Ninjago has to offer. There are always exceptions. But with Bionicle, G2 in particular, the Toa weren't interesting characters. Like what the guy from Templar mentioned about like all the Matoran and their quirky personality traits, like that lead for interesting character growth. Name me one about a G2 Toa. One thing that could be expanded upon for character growth.
The Pohatu's Fear of Scorpions.
Oh yes, true. Very true. He hated scorpions. That is truly a grip.
And then he got over it. See? Character growth.
And then he got over it. But the thing I believe, and this is just me, even if the Toa were the most interesting, fleshed out, complex, and well-developed characters ever in G2, they were like top of the line, masterclass writing, I guarantee the Bionicle community would still have disliked G2 because it did not do the world building. It did not go into island life. It didn't show any of the villagers. It didn't go into architecture. It didn't go into anything because it didn't have a vessel like Monog to funnel that information to you in a way that was interesting. Again, it's a preconception of what came before affecting the current product. It's my belief that it's always going to be that way in any hypothetical continuation or reboot. And that's kind of why I don't really want them to mess with it. I think it's doomed to fail.
Yeah,
That's
I think
just me.
Yeah, unless they give it that kind of care.
It goes into the fandom being jaded. Like, it's partly LEGO's fault. It's also partly the fandom's fault. We've become so attached to the idea of Bionicle that we're reluctant to get anything that doesn't necessarily fit with that. Like the later years of G1, they had great stories. I love the Ignition trilogy. It's awesome. But all I hear people say nowadays, Voya Nui wasn't an interesting place. Mari Nui wasn't an interesting place. Carda Nui wasn't an interesting place. And I agree with all that. But I think the stories were interesting despite the fact that they didn't go into the island. But because they went into the island initially, it feels hollow without that. I don't really think that's LEGO's fault. I think it's just kind of how it happened. But it's colored the fan base's eyes. It's colored their preconceptions, and I'm 100% guilty of that. I was complaining about the lack of world building in G2 from word go.
I remember that.
I do. As well, it's just kind of a thing you can't avoid. It's when you reboot a property like that, you have to adhere to what came before to some degree. Do something different, yes, but respect what came before as well. But you can do that all you want, but you won't please everybody. You're always going to run into that flaw. And then you had stuff like LEGO trying to cram all the references into the original, and then the G2 stuff left and right, like Dud.
Don't.
Duty, Unity, Destiny, and, a billion prophecies. and stuff.
Okay, dud bothers me. I think that's actually the thing that bothers me the most about G2 is dud. And
Yeah.
for anyone who isn't fully involved in Bionicle and whatnot, UDD is something you'll hear a lot in the Bionicle community. It stands for Unity, Duty, Destiny. It was kind of the tagline a lot of characters said. It was the virtues, the 3 virtues that the good guys adhered to: Unity, Duty, Destiny. And at the very end of Generation 2's Netflix series, Journey to 1, the characters shout out, Duty, Unity, Destiny, and screw up the order, because it should go Unity, Duty, Destiny, and Duty, Unity, Destiny spells out dud.
Right on cue when I'm done talking and you start talking. Apparently the lag is back.
Nice. Okay.
It's like lag.
Well, it'll even itself out. Honestly, I still need to look into the XSplit program again, because there are some issues obviously still with it. So after this, I'll get all that sorted out. Unfortunately, I had intended to do some testing, but then I kind of forgot to do the testing. So
Well done.
nice.
I'd still turn down the bitrate slightly. Like, what's it at right now?
Let me check. Okay, one moment. It's at 1600.
Try like 1300. It's not gonna make that big of a difference, but it might be enough to like snap the stream into working properly.
Okay, fair enough. I don't actually know what the bitrate change does necessarily.
Audio quality.
Oh,
But
what?
I listened
no.
to it and it's perfectly fine.
Oh, okay.
Aside from I have a little bit of static in the background, which I apologize for. My room isn't properly soundproofed yet.
Yeah.
Kind of reverb.
All right, let me see if you're still getting lag. Try refreshing the page.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds like a grand thing.
Yes. All right. I think that really does drive your point home.
Yup.
And
Because then another thing I was gonna ask you, where do you draw the line between what constitutes a really good reference or nostalgia pandering? Because a lot of references were packed into G2. Some people liked them and some people didn't, but then you have stuff like Dud, which falls flat on its face, where it's clear they just put it in there to like reference, the original, and a lot of people look down on that. You have Star Wars. Is it references or is it pulling from the original to make your inferior work better? Which is a whole other conversation. Where do you draw the line?
I think I draw the line when it's unclear, when we don't know. Because stuff like the G1 Vahi showing up in everything in the animated series, I don't know what that's meant to convey, because later on we hear the Vahi in Generation 2 is in 2 pieces. We're seeing the upper half, and in Generation 1 we saw the lower half, and it's implied that they're the same, even though that apparently wasn't the intention. So it's like, I don't know if that's a reference. With UDD or Dud, I don't know if that's supposed to be a reference or if they're actually trying to play it straight. Or Liwa controlling air and jungle. I draw the line when it's confusing, because if it's something that's super integral to a theme or a property, I think that it should be expected and it's no longer a reference, it's just a part of that property. Like Unity, Duty, Destiny, I think that is not a reference. I think that's an actual part of Bionicle that's a staple. Not the symbol, but, the words Unity, Duty, Destiny. And I think they screwed it up at the end of Journey to 1.
They very clunkily put it in there, and then when they realized that their whole, do one a year thing fell through because Unity was second, they were like, well, just do it anyway.
Exactly. And, but stuff like Liwa controlling jungle and air, him controlling air, that I think is a reference, and it doesn't make sense. And it's clunky. And I don't think it works. And in the comments here, we have an individual by the name of Bolt Scrap, who says the Vahi was just an Easter egg, something fun to notice, and that's the problem, because it ended up not being that way. Because in the story,
Why
we
do you
later...
have graphic novels? Why do they not follow that line of thinking? Why do you say like the lower half is lost in some other place, and then you have a Kimu put on the upper half, and it does important plot relevant things that later get contradicted by Journey to One because there was a prophecy that let them know about the Toa and the creatures. It doesn't make any sense.
Top 10 TTV moments right there with you managing to coherently say that quickly. It was impressive. But yeah, so I think I draw the line when it's unclear. Because I think you can have a reference to something and it's kind of tongue-in-cheek and fine. It needs to be rare, but I think that's okay. But then you start trying to weave it in, and it just doesn't make sense. Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. That totally makes sense. Are you fine with references or nostalgia pandering if you want to be critical, or would you rather have something entirely new? Because I know a common critique of both Bionicle and the modern Star Wars trilogy is that they're playing it too safe. Especially, I'm talking about G2, by the way. They did not do enough unique new things because they were too concerned about paying homage to what happened before in the past to worry about carving out its own unique legacy. And then they poorly do the homage because they're so focused on that as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Again, it goes back to what I was saying about some things are just intrinsic to the series, to a franchise. Like, for instance, the Millennium Falcon being in The Force Awakens. I don't think that's a reference or an homage. That's just an item in the franchise. It's a spaceship that exists. So it being present isn't a reference. I also don't think that Rey pulling Luke's lightsaber out of the snow with the Force is necessarily a reference. It's kind of coincidental. It's same, same atmosphere with snow, same item, same pulling it out of the snow. Different circumstance, different reason for kind of needing it. You're not cutting off a beast's arm. You're fighting someone with a lightsaber. Yeah. So, I obviously enough, I would like a balance. I think that's fair to say. If you asked me to choose, nostalgia pandering kind of it works on me. So I will admit I'm a sucker for that kind of a thing. And
there's an audience for it. That's why they do it.
Of course. So, obviously
I know there is a
works.
large group of people out there who would prefer that the new trilogy of Star Wars didn't touch the old. It was either completely disconnected, alternate universe, or just set so far into the future none of the other people showed up, because then you avoid, people feel they've butchered the old characters. I know a lot of people feel similarly about G2. If it hadn't been the Toa, if they hadn't been concerned with shoving in so many references, maybe it could have had its own identity. Maybe it wouldn't feel so much like they tried to revive something that should have been left in the past. Mm-hmm. And that's a very large counterculture movement that is out there. I do acknowledge it.
I can understand that. And to an extent, I can even agree. Because while I'm saying that nostalgia pandering, works on me, I do really like it when they mix things up, and I have been discontent when they try to bring older characters back, like Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, or even characters in other franchises. That is an issue. That is something that bothers me. So I think that when I think about it, and I really look into it, I do prefer when it's new, when it's different. When it doesn't bother with the stuff that I have fond memories of, and might taint them by name association.
That's fair. I like the comment in the chat from Luke Razor. This stuff is super interesting to me, as I never understood the references in G2 because I found out about G1 in 2016.
Wow.
That's so awesome to me that someone out there has had that experience. You poor soul. I hope you enjoy G1 if you go back and read the books and stuff. It's worth experience.
That's a perspective I don't often hear. That's a really fascinating...
Bring him on the show. Bring Luke Razor on the show and talk about it.
Sure, he asks a question every week, and this is no exception.
That's awesome. I have more evidence. I have more anecdotal, not evidence, but more thoughts.
Go for it.
Try to get through them quick because I recognize we're racking up the time.
We're racking up the time, and we still have questions we need to get to. So go ahead and
yeah, quick. A few
Rattle
more
through.
things I feel about Bionicle, about why it should not come back, or more accurately, thoughts I've had about why G2 might not have succeeded as well, and why future reboots might suffer a similar fate. Um, Bionicle launched as a Technic sub-theme and featured recognizable Technic influences and appeal, which allowed for people to immediately tell, this is a Lego product. It can be integrated easily, specifically in this one particular sub-theme. But while I don't accept the argument that CCBS isn't real Lego, I can understand why people think that way, because it exists on an island. It's a branch of Lego in and of itself completely, but it doesn't have a recognizable logo branding it as a different theme. It doesn't, exist in that wide of a category. It's just an offshoot. It's a random product. And I like that for being unique, except that I do actually believe it hurts its overall appeal to the masses. Because no matter how many times we try to have prolonged arguments and convince people that CCBS is awesome and that it is real Lego, many people just don't think so, because they think it's chock full of blocky, specialized pieces that don't have a place in your collection. People's minds aren't going to change on that easily. And we can debate that until the sun burns out. But while there's always been a negative stigma with Bionicle, you have to admit that CCBS as a whole is looked upon with far more like scorn and disdain than original Technic Bionicle was. I think that's a fair thing to say.
I feel like it is, but I think that the majority of people looking down upon it are folks who grew up with the original Technic Bionicle system.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm talking more about general AFOLs. AFOLs.
I'm not sure. I don't know, honestly.
I think it's a lot easier to accept a Technic offshoot than it is an entirely new building construction system.
Which, to me, is
one that
strange.
doesn't have a logo.
It's odd, especially given that CCBS follows traditional system... what is it? Not requirements, not traditions. But
aesthetics?
Kind of aesthetics, but also the principles. There we go. The same building principles, where it's all generally standardized, and it's just offshoots of one singular concept. The brick, the shell. It works with itself, and it works to be enhanced by Technic. It is a buildable person system.
I mean, I agree. I'm CCBS's #1 fan. I could do a whole show just debating its principles.
Oh, yeah.
You said, it's a dumb thing. It's really stupid. But I believe if you gave CCBS a logo and a better name, people would accept it as real Lego.
That's interesting.
People accept Duplo as real Lego, even if it can't be mixed, and people mix it anyway. In an ironic sense, perhaps, but it is out there, and it is perfectly justified.
Well, some people actually seriously mix it because it is compatible with bricks.
That's true. And so is CCBS. You just gotta get creative with mechs and stuff. But most people don't even know it's called CCBS. They just call it the Bionicle system. And it's like, oh, well. Yeah, it's just Bionicle. It's just like Galador, Can't do anything with it. That's not true. It's a myriad of different themes feature CCBS. Most people don't even know what that acronym means. It's just marketing. It's poor marketing.
That's interesting. That's not a perspective I've ever heard before.
Well, it's me. I spend months thinking about unique things to say.
Evidently.
Another thing I think, Bionicle back then was new and fresh as a concept. They experimented with Robo-Riders and Throwbots. Actually, real quick, Kevin Hinkle posts, nope. People didn't think Duplo was Lego. The company had to change up the logo and re-add the Lego logo since there was mass consumer confusion.
Really?
Did not know that.
That
is very interesting.
Fascinating.
Well, perhaps. People have come around in that case, I will say. Not always. I think people could still come around with CCBS as well, if there was some more care put into it.
That's interesting, though, that, they had to change the logo, which is what you're talking about, give it a logo.
Yeah.
So that's fair enough. Please continue.
I'll summarize. Bionicle was the first time Lego invested any significant amount of a budget or focus or just general love and care into a homegrown original IP with a story. completely discounting the fact that it was like the first serious construction theme. You know, it wasn't just a unique idea as far as action figures go, but it was something unheard of for Lego as a brand, and that appeal led to strong word of mouth about how unique it was. It was the cool toy, and I think that played a large role in spawning its legacy. But modern Bionicle, when you think about it, arrived at a point where the hype and appeal for Lego action figures isn't as strong as it used to be. CCBS has fans and a thriving community for sure, but G2 launched 15 years after G1 did. You know, the innovation, the appeal of the idea and the product, I don't think was there anymore, because G1 was a massive leap forward for construction as an idea, and it was something completely different for Lego to pursue. But G2 was just kind of another CCBS theme. I think it was like the fourth one we'd had by that point. An excellent one, but it lacked that same hype, or any hype really, aside from, hey, Bionicle's back. That's cool.
Yeah.
G1 was also when Lego first forayed into story. It thrived as a result of that freshness. It didn't have any competition except for like Knight's Kingdom and Exo Force, if you want to count them.
And that came much later, like halfway through Bionicle's lifespan.
Much later. But when you think about G2, again, it arrived after Hero Factory slowly burned itself out and its fan base due to stagnation on the set front and multiple years of a hollow story with 4 consecutive unresolved cliffhangers. 3, sorry. By extension, look at Ninjago. Massively successful. Bionicle actually had to compete with that. Different building systems, similar audiences who follow story and stuff. There's also Nexonites, which was in development at this point, and it was clear they were intending for Nexonites to be the next huge breakout story theme with a TV show and an action theme. Ergo, it siphoned off the focus from building Bionicle as a brand. Bionicle was an afterthought because there was so much internal competition, let alone what was out there on the market. And because it was a CCBS theme, it didn't get the focus it needed to establish an identity. Ninjago's success in all action themes in general, I think, is going to make it very difficult for Bionicle or any progressive up-and-coming construction theme to come back and receive the focus that it actually would need to make an identity in the modern era. I think that ship is sailed.
Interesting. And I guess that brings me to the question, could construction even conceivably work anymore? Because even you've acknowledged that you would prefer to see Bionicle return, which is historically a construction theme and very character-focused. You'd like to see it back as system. And
I think construction's done.
Okay, you think it's
I wish
no
it
way.
wasn't so. I love it as a thing. I love it as a building system. I love all the themes that have been created for it, but I don't see it, especially not with Lego reporting their profits are down. You know, they're downscaling, they're downsizing. Stuff they thought was going to perform great either underperformed or only did okay. I don't think they're going to bother taking a risk on construction themes anymore. I think the only way it could come back is a mech-based theme that was supplanted by system. Not supplanted, but it was added on to system components. I think Invasion from Below had the right idea, integrating minifigures. I think the Nexonites battlesuits have the right idea, kind of mixing the two. I think they could develop that system some more to not be as ugly and increase its posability, but I think that was a step in the right direction. I don't think construction has a future. I wish I didn't have to say that. I don't think it does.
Interesting.
Prove me wrong, Lego, please. I'm begging you.
But so just to really quickly summarize, you do you think that construction doesn't have a future as a standalone theme, or do you think it doesn't have a future at all?
Standalone theme. I feel like Star Wars was a good idea. I think there are certain themes that can work and have a construction sub-theme, like Chima, or superheroes, or Star Wars. I think Nexonites could have had some great figures if they had decided to go that route. Think about it, it'd be like Knight's Kingdom 2.0. They just didn't. They did the battle suits instead. But I think the building system definitely still has value. They've integrated some of the parts into their mechs, like the Hulkbuster, from Infinity War. It has armor, CCBS armor.
It's got shells and bones, yeah.
Yeah, I think they would be reluctant, I would imagine, to simply throw it out. But I don't think that we will see another theme like Bionicle G1, which received mass marketing. Awesome, a lot of emphasis was put on its worth and value. I think the pipe dream people have of like a Bionicle theatrical movie or a new theme that's kind of like that, I don't think that is going to happen anymore. I wish I didn't feel that way, but I do.
Fair enough. I'm not ready to write it off just yet. I think that you have an incredibly strong and valid point. I want to wait and see. I want to see if these rumors come to fruition, which I'm actually fairly certain they will. And I have to wonder if things are kind of just in a lull period where they're waiting, they're letting things die down, and then letting hype build eventually, maybe. Kind of a break. But I don't know. I think that it's going to be fascinating to wait and see where things go.
The final thought I have is that, honestly, I think I've mulled it over. I think the massive hype machine that was G2 led to its death. I honestly do. Remember the white hot hype when it came back?
Yes.
It was like the best feeling ever. Everyone was so floored that LEGO would revive Bionicle that nobody really gave much thought to whether they should or gave any consideration to how it could be translated into the modern era, except VAR with his Bionicle autopsy video, which basically 100% predicted the future. So when it ended up underperforming in many key ways, the disappointment was maybe a little over-exaggerated based on our preconceived notions of what it should have been like. Kind of like earlier about Mesonak. I think that, G2 was lacking, but I think maybe the community took it a little too far with how bad it actually was, simply because it was a disappointment for our expectations.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they were ridiculous expectations to have, or that we were wrong for expecting certain things of a Bionicle reboot, like for characters to have names, basic storytelling fundamentals. I'm just saying that preconception did exist because it was a reboot. G2 wasn't like Ninjago. It didn't get to have a fair appraisal on its own merits. Is that the community's fault or LEGO's fault? I wouldn't really say either. It's just something interesting that I think played a role. And that's all I have to say.
I think that's fair enough. I don't really have anything to add, personally. Nothing that's going to, shake up the thought.
Short version, Bionicle community isn't toxic. We've just been slighted because of a lot of unfortunate things that have happened that have led me to believe that I don't think trying to campaign for a Bionicle revival is worth your time. I think you should instead focus on being good to each other and building up creativity. And don't drive people away, like Shadow Gear earlier.
Yeah.
We're all here to have fun.
I feel like that last little point I can definitely build on a little bit, just slightly, before we get into questions, and we have a lot of questions. I hope you're ready for a lightning round.
I am.
But, actually, for the questions, I'm going to go ahead and switch out your picture in the video.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone, behold.
Derpy Meso to Epic Meso.
Yeah. There you go, guys.
Candlelit movie star Meso.
It looks like a screenshot out of a commercial for a rom-com. Not even a rom-com, like a serious Valentine's Day romantic film.
Dude, that was like it was like a candlelit dinner that place was.
You're on a date with Bionicle.
Sinza Gluten, the 100% gluten-free restaurant in New York City. Go there. That's where the photo was taken. Anyway, go on, Eljay.
Okay. So I definitely think that last little part is something to keep in mind, especially don't drive people away. There's a lot of elitism, obviously, in communities, and there are different levels to it. Don't try and worry about that. Don't try and make that a thing. Everybody here is that we're just fans. We're just making things. We're just enjoying it. And especially, I think, when it comes to age in particular. Because I've had conversations with prolific mockists who, to their credit, are very skilled, but they have a bias against younger members of the community, which I feel is incredibly contradictory. Because LEGO is a theme aimed at younger members of the community. Those people, I think that the last episode of this show, the one with Kevin Hinkle, summed up really, really well. I think Kevin even said, today's TFOLs are tomorrow's AFOLs. Something to that effect. I highly recommend that. That's one of my favorite episodes thus far. And I'm not saying that because he's possibly listening. I'm honest. But, they're here because they enjoy it. You were once a kid. You were once like that. Like even I was like once like that. So don't discourage them from doing things if they aren't as skilled as you are. You've been in it a lot longer. Encourage them to do better. I think, and don't drive people out.
Is if they have a chance to,
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, okay. You ready for some questions?
I'm ready for some questions.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start with email because I give priority to that because I appreciate anybody sending email questions. So, Hayden asks, I have a question. Where's the Metronui online game with Mesonak and Eljay? In all seriousness, I love the Meso and Eljay dynamic and would love to see more content from the two of you.
It's a neat dynamic. I like it a lot, too.
Yeah, whatever.
Fun with that.
Sure.
It's fun, dude. Come on. I mean, it's fun. We did Let's Plays. It was great.
Yeah. Okay. No. Menog, yeah.
Will happen at some point. The main issues with it always were a walkthrough didn't exist for it. At least that's what I thought. I think Star might have found one. I forget. Do you remember? Did he?
I remember that there was a guide at some point. I remember we found one, but we got swept away with some other activity.
I think I had Star Paru Solaris Magnus, dig it up to do the Let's Play, because the reason I need a walkthrough isn't so I can consult it all the time. It's a fan-made game. It's not an official Templar Studios or whatever made Lego game. There might be some issues with it. There might be puzzles that I just can't figure out for whatever reason because I'm not in the dude's headspace, and I don't want to have a situation where the playthrough just becomes boring as dirt. Kind of what happened with Vinog, where it was just a long, prolonged endeavor.
It dragged.
If we ever do that, it will be cut up, it'll be edited, it will be like a highlight montage. It won't just be us fumbling through fan-made games.
Yeah.
And the walkthrough's good to have as a backup in case you need to figure out where to go.
Yeah. It's a safety net for you guys. Well, for us, but so that you guys aren't bored.
It will happen at some point. It'll probably be on LJ's channel.
I was about to ask, where's it going to be? Take a guess, guys.
Problem with that.
Yeah.
It will probably be me playing on LJ's channel, which might be a bit odd. Maybe you should play it.
No, I'm going to leave that to you. Otherwise, the dynamic screws up.
That's true.
So, okay. Next question.
When I can't promise, but one day.
Yeah, fair enough. That works. Game Slacker and sorry, this might be a little bit of a personal question for you.
Oh boy.
They ask, I have a question from Meso. I heard that you know Kopaka and Nika 122 personally. If that's true, could you convince him to be a guest on the show? That would be great.
I don't know. We had a friendship going. I've known Kopak for many years. I think we met on Mask of Destiny when I went there after BZP went down way back when.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a really good dynamic. We had good friendship, but as I mentioned earlier, we had a falling out recently.
Mm-hmm.
After what he did to the Lime Joint podcast, I don't honestly think he would enrich your show all that much.
No. I think he was kind of a problem on the Lime Joint because he kept pulling us off topic and sidetracking us, and it was a bit of a mess.
I don't think it'd be a good idea.
Yeah. No,
I think instead, I know another guy that you might want to look into, Tahumari 311. I might recommend him.
Okay, all right.
He is a prolific scholar in the ways of Mars mission.
Interesting. Okay, send me over his contact information.
I will.
Okay, thanks. All right, let's get into the next question. This one's actually very timely because, for anyone unaware, today is Mario Day. It's March 10th, which spells out Mario.
Let's go! Mario!
And this question is from Kevin A. Hinkle. And he has 3 of them. So the first one is, what is your favorite Super Mario game and why?
Okay. This one's hard. Because Mario as a franchise is very spread out. It's very diverse in the kinds of games it produces because Mario has become an icon. If you're talking Super Mario, without a doubt, Odyssey. Odyssey is one of the greatest games I ever played, period. And it does references and nostalgia pandering very well, while also providing a fresh new take on Mario as a formula. I know a lot of people actually don't like it because Mario is traditionally about platforming. Odyssey does have a lot of that, but it primarily deals with the new capture mechanic where you take over enemies and use their abilities to get around in a puzzle kind of atmosphere. Doing collecting mini games, it is different, but I think it is easily one of the best Mario games ever made. Mario as a franchise, probably gonna have to go with Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, because it was the first game I ever played in my life. It has a special place in my heart. The Mario and Luigi games actually have a story to them. They're turn-based RPGs, and you can walk around in the overworld and like explore and hunt for items and fight enemies. They are some of the most hilarious games you'll ever play. I love them to death. There's a whole series. Superstar Saga is the best. That and Odyssey.
Okay, what was that game you had me play? The one Mario game I've played.
It was Super Mario 3D Land.
That's
And
what
you played
it
for
was.
1 minute, and you couldn't clear the first level.
I didn't need you to say that last part, buddy. Okay, all right.
It's true.
Moving on to the next question from Kevin. What is your favorite The Legend of Zelda game, and why?
Well, I've never played the franchise.
Me too!
Except
Oh,
for
no.
Breath of the Wild, so I default to that.
Okay.
It's basically like the Skyrim formula, but perfected, I think. There are so many aspects in Breath of the Wild that are just better than Skyrim, like climbing and paragliding and so many incredible advancements to the open world thing. I gotta go with that.
I'm going to go with that too, because we're going to be starting it really soon. Stop laughing, Kevin! That's a fake laugh! His third question is, what commonalities do you see, if any, between the LEGO fan community and the video gaming fan community?
When things don't go right, people get salty. I think that's true for many communities, but I am a Metroid fan through and through. Metroid's probably one of the things I like the most in this world of ours, and every time I go to that community, I just feel right at home with Bionicle, because people are always disappointed. It's been like 10 years without a game, or it was. The last time they made a game, when they brought Metroid back after a long hiatus, it didn't go well. Metroid Other M, people thought it was a disgrace. And then Metroid sank back into obscurity, just like Bionicle, and has only recently returned to prominence. So I definitely feel like there's a lot of common ground there.
Okay.
Alternatively, people are resistant to change. People don't like when stuff changes a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Ninjago movie designs. What? No. I didn't say anything.
Okay, last email question is from Mid Blue. Hello! 577 days ago, on August 10th, 2016, Meso gave a speech to the Bionicle community, an inspirational message which shaped what kind of a Bionicle fan I am today. My questions for both of you are, what do you think about the state of the community in its fourth era? How is it compared to the other eras? The first being during G1, the second is between G1 and G2, the third is G2, and the fourth is now. United as the fans, we embrace our duty to create content and fulfill our destiny to keep Bionicle alive. Have a great day.
I like that. I like that end bit. Well, first of all, if my stupid rambling speech actually had an effect on you, that makes me happy. I'm glad at least someone was affected
He
by
said
it.
it shaped what kind of a fan he is, so he's a second place fan.
That's awesome. Shut up. Shut your mouth. Well, we kind of already touched upon it a little bit in this episode. I think that what did he say? How do you think that we're currently doing, and how does this era compare to the others?
Yes.
I think we're doing okay. We're doing about as well as could be expected. But we've still got a ways to go, like not driving important members of the community off and not discouraging new people from getting into it and being creative. I think there's a lot of people out there doing good projects. Not all of them end up getting released, but there are definitely people out there who are attempting to bring something to the Bionicle community, I urge you to keep that up. I'm also seeing a large increase in the amount of podcasts out there, and that's cool to see because podcasts are fun.
Shout out to the Lime Joint, the Hapori.
Yep. Like in Lime Joint, Hapori, BCC, that they've been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing that. I like podcasts, and that's a whole other thing into itself, forming a group of people, talking about stuff, informing your own decisions, getting better equipment. It's a whole fun experience people have that as you build your repertoire throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
And then group projects and mockists and artwork and stuff. Just please keep doing that. That's how Bionicle's going to be remembered. People are going to say, what's this? And they're going to be like, oh, I remember this. This mock or whatever reminded me of how awesome Bionicle was. I'll go dig up my sets, and then I'm going to build something too. That's pretty much all I have to say as far as how the era compares. Probably the worst.
Ouch.
Simply because 2 cancellations will take a severe hit to morale.
Yeah.
But hey, at least... the only forum on the internet that you could talk about Bionicle on is up this time. And there's more than one. And during that one era was when BZP was down, and that was just awful to be a Bionicle fan.
All you had after that was Zat.
Yeah, exactly. At least now there's options.
Yeah.
TV message boards, BZP, social media, Reddit mask posting, Tumblr. There's places to go talk about Bionicle. You don't just get to 4chan. I forgot about that. No disrespect. The 4chan overlords. There's places to go if you want to talk about Bionicle.
Yeah, there are plenty of options, and options are always good. Kevin actually brought up a great point. There's also this new Eljay Johnsen show, and unfortunately he emphasized the O, and I don't know what he's talking about.
Eljay Johnsen.
Okay, we're moving on to Twitter questions.
All
right, Luke Razor from earlier has 2. First one, what's your favorite Bionicle mask character and year? Just go ahead and speed run those through.
See, I'm a weirdo.
Uh-oh.
I don't have favorites.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't point to you a Bionicle character that I really enjoy and thought was well fleshed out. That might make me a terrible person.
No, you're fine.
But I guess I like the Volt attack.
I remember this.
Because I can kind of see it being made into a skull-esque mask if you can contort it in a way and maybe paint it. I like Makuta. He was a good villain. And I really like 2006 because I felt it had a good story and balanced old characters and new.
Okay, fair enough. And his second question is there anything you dislike about the TTV message boards and or YouTube channel?
TTV message boards, YouTube channel. The boards... There are things I dislike about the boards. I used to not like our redesign. It's since grown on me.
Mm-hmm.
I really like our Hot Topics thing. That's cool. Things I don't like, there's a lot of notifications and a lot of double posts.
That's okay. The notifications are on you.
The notifications on me. I have 2,000 unread notifications.
And we're moving on.
2,000. There's a lot of double posts. I would think people would have, at this point, realized it's a bad thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's been years, and people still do it. And as far as the channel goes, too many podcasts, not enough other videos. And I'm guilty of that as well. But we have so many podcasts, and they're hour-long videos, and it's well, bring back some old series.
Yeah, I like the recap reviews. Okay.
Indeed.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Those are done. Next question from Joshua Mills. He asks, Meso, which Dark Souls is the best Dark Souls and why? And does LJ play Dark Souls?
Well, he's a quitter.
No, okay, I'm not a quitter! I'm on a break!
What do you call playing the game and quitting?
I didn't quit! I haven't gotten around to finishing it!
You played till Capra Demon.
I thought that was pretty good!
You quit!
I did not quit! I never went. I'm done with this game. I just got busy and sidetracked.
He's going to be returning to it.
Yes! I am!
As far as my favorite, Dark Souls 1's a classic. Can't beat it. Dark Souls 2, I think, is probably the worst. Dark Souls 3, I like a lot of the things it did with movement and speed and gameplay nuance, but I feel like that was mainly to try to play catch up to Bloodborne, which I think would be my favorite if I had a PS4 to play it. So probably Dark Souls 3 was the most fun to play. Dark Souls 1 can't be beat as a foundation, though.
Okay, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The next question comes from the Lime Joint podcast, and they ask, podcast editing advice. Also, guys, keep on the lookout for user Kopaka Nika122, total toxic member who completely ruined my community, sad face. Also,
Agreed.
What do you feel about people who suggest / make petitions to re-release the Tomata exactly as they were as a 20-year anniversary run?
So I think that's a bit more realistic. It
Really?
sounds ludicrous, but do I think petitions will work? No. Do I think Lego could do that? 100% they could. They just did it with the Taj Mahal. They re-released that. And that was just some completely random thing they decided to do on a whim. Just
That we're
because,
aware
I guess,
of.
To compete against bootlegs. There was no symbolic reason to release the Taj Mahal, I don't think.
I don't know.
I think it would be very easy to release the Toa. Not widespread, not in stores, on Shop at Home. Maybe not easy as much as I would think because I doubt they still have the molds. So that might be a concern. I think it's within the realm of possibility. Podcast advice: figure out ways to streamline audio editing. You might be tempted to do it in a perfectionist way to make sure you have like the best audio quality in the world. But from my experience, cutting a few corners when needed to ensure that you have a good release schedule is the best way to go. Figure out an easy way to do podcast videos. TTV has finally gotten there. I think we have a good system set up now for doing them, though it is a bit convoluted with how we do live streams and then archive it or whatever, but it works. It's not a lot of work. But back in the day, doing the slideshow, the way that it was done, just made podcast editing take 100 years to actually do. Waj knows this from experience. He edited the Brick Feed podcast. Waj Knight, I think he's still in the chat. And it really didn't do a lot in the end because while, yes, there are some people who do look at podcasts, videos, and they actually watch it, the far more majority of listeners simply have it on in the background while they do other things. And they'll only look if something comes up that is relevant to the topic. Like if you're talking about a set, obviously have the set on the screen so people know what they are looking at if they decide to glance over. But if you're just talking about random stuff, if you're talking about Thor, do you really need to like have a picture of Thor there? No, most people know what Thor looks like. In essence, while you may be concerned about doing the highest quality work you can, 9 times out of 10, if it impedes release and getting your content out to listeners, it's not really worth it. That might sound bad, but that's my belief. Focus on creating your content, then perfect it later if you want to make it better. Now, the Lime Joint asked that, right?
Yes.
They have good videos. I watched the video for the one you were on, and they have like the perfect in-jokes that they cut in the video footage. They do a really good system. So I'm not going to discourage you guys from doing that. If it works for you, it's hilarious.
Yeah. Just keep in mind, for anyone curious, I highly recommend the Lime Joint. Just be advised, they do not abide by a language rating, so it's kind of M for mature. It's not E for everyone.
They curse like sailors.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind. I'm not saying that's anything against their quality. Just viewer discretion is advised. I highly recommend them. They're a great group of folks. Oh, God.
Except Kopak.
Yeah, that guy's a jerk. Joshua Mills actually has 2 more questions, one of which we already answered, which is the Minog one. The other one is, if you could design a single game for G1, how would you design it? What would it be like? I mean, it'd be Minog 1.
Open world Bionicle game, if not Minog. I think Minog is the perfect game to do.
Yeah.
But I think an open world game on the island of Motunui where you go around collecting masks and fighting Rahi and leveling up your abilities and kind of dealing with the environment would be awesome. I think there's already a fan game being made that's kind of like that.
Yeah, Bionicle Masks of
RPG
Power.
element, but it's getting there.
Yeah, I agree. Made Blue asks, are you going to talk about Bionicle in any way?
On the episode, no, but it does exist.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Bionicle is an ongoing project. I think that nobody can deny the awesome work that the community's done for it. Response to that is awesome. There have been a lot of incredible system mocks put forth for that project, and I love them to death.
I'll leave that there. Waj asks, when's Meso's HF recap reviews happening?
One day, I have moved, which was goal number 1. I've moved to a place I could conceivably have a review set up. I could conceivably do them. The main struggle at this point is completing my set collection and fixing up some broken sets that have had all their parts cracked, like Witch Doctor. So, that is a thing I could do, but no promises as to when. I know that's not a good answer. It's the only answer I got.
Fair enough. 2 quick things. First of all, for Kevin Hinkle in the chat, for Bionicle Layman, which, to be fair, I keep on forgetting to do this. What does MNOG stand for? It is an acronym for Matanui Online Game, and MENOG stands for Metronui Online Game. Swart answered this in the chat, but for anyone listening...
I guess that might have been really confusing when I was talking about how great Menog was, huh?
Possibly. Yeah, it was a Flash game released in 2001, piecemeal throughout the year. The other thing is, you're not going to name them the recaps, are you?
No. They're going to be called Factory Check if I ever do them.
Sweet sauce. Political Slime asks, what would you make the new name for CCBS? And for anyone unaware, CCBS stands for Character and Creature Building System. What would your new name be, Mesa?
I don't know. It's pretty tricky. I'm not an ideas guy. I just critique ideas. Okay. All I know is it shouldn't be an acronym. I think an acronym is wrong because it requires people to figure out what does that acronym mean. Character and creature building system. It gets the point across. It's very efficient. I don't think it should be that. Some people have said it should be called Bionicle, which is decent if Bionicle was the only theme using it, but it's not. It can get confusing if a building system is named the same as a theme. However, that is how LEGO does operate. You know, there's Technic, and then there used to be multiple different themes under the Technic banner that were called different things, like Robo Riders, Slicers, Bionicle, you know, all the cars they used to do. They could like ram into each other, have functions. The Star Wars Technic figures, the hockey figures, I think were under the Technic branch. So maybe that is something to consider. Maybe have it be the Bionicle system or some other name like that that just encompasses all the products. As far as the name goes, though, I don't have it for you. I'm sorry.
Fair enough. Okay, I don't have anything either, for the record. All right, Pia Lacar asks, Meso, what were your thoughts on the Nintendo Direct from Thursday?
A lot of ports, which does not bother me at all because I never got a Wii U. You know, I get to play all the awesome games. There is a few things of note, namely that they're still producing games for the 3DS despite that system being irrelevant. They should not be doing that, IMO. I think that holding on to the 3DS and supporting it is an admirable goal, but all it does is convince people to not buy a Switch because they're still making games for the 3DS. The way you get people to buy new systems is to encourage buying those new systems, and I know a lot of people, believe it or not, who might be more inclined to buy a Switch if Bowser's Inside Story and Luigi's Mansion were being ported there versus on the 3DS. It's the exact same with Metroid Samus Returns. It should have been on the Switch, not a 3DS game. It would have looked 10 times better. Would have had better graphics, better everything. Other than that, there's a debate as to whether Smash is a new game or whether it's a port. At first, I thought a new game was ludicrous and that it was obviously a port, but apparently the developer's been making a lot of tweets which indicate that it is a completely new game, to which I say it seems awful soon. And it's coming out this year, which breaks from how Smash normally does things, which is a very prolonged dev cycle where they build hype with character trailers. Maybe they feel like since they already did that, they don't need to this time around, but it's coming in 2018, so that's going to be great. That's all I got to say. Oh yeah, and Dark Souls has not great graphics, but that's probably just because it's on the Switch.
Okay. I didn't watch it, so I only heard about these things secondhand.
There you go.
Okay. Orion asks, Firstly, Bionicle as an anime, yes or no?
No. It could work. Could totally work, but it's not my preference.
Okay. Would you be up for getting kidnapped?
No. I don't like being kidnapped.
Fair enough. Orion,
No.
the trunk of your vehicle should never have had an air freshener in it. His final question, let's say in another reality you ran a generic clickbait YouTube channel. What would it be about? 1,000-degree knives, cutting stuff, toy reviews, or vlogging?
I would love to be a vlog channel. A vlog clickbait channel would be grand. It would be glorious. Think about it. Meso vlogs food. And I just go around trying different restaurants and yelling at them if they don't have gluten-free food. And then coming back home, and then I do vlogs of cooking gluten-free versions of those food items. Like Meso's Carolina Reaper hot sauce challenge.
But then wouldn't you review them?
Yeah, but in a vlog format. It'd be super informal. It'd just be like, I put a camera up, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this food review. And I'm like, yeah, eat it, great. But when I'm like actually at the restaurant, I just like have the camera. I'd just be filming like the food.
Okay.
It'd be
Gotcha.
great, dude.
In that case, the final Twitter question is from MidBlue again.
What do you think we should do to make the Bionicle community stronger?
Make it stronger, not be negative. Be positive.
I agree.
Build upon things, literally and metaphorically. Don't tear people down. If there are people who are trying to provoke you into arguments you don't take the bait. Just realize that it might be Bionicle's strength that there's so much to talk about and care about, despite it just being a toy line. But it is just a toy line. Everybody's here to have fun.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about.
I agree with that 100%. Okay, we got a few more minutes left. I want to go to 2 hours for the 20th episode. So
Woo!
let's go ahead and take a few questions from the live chat, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. How's that sound?
Ask me questions. Mwahaha.
Me too. You know, I like questions
No, I can ask you questions any show.
That's fair
This
enough.
is mine.
That's true. That is true. Timote Best asked earlier, do LJ and Meso still hang out regularly? Yes.
No, I hate you.
Meso,
Hang out regularly.
I'm glad we're in this chat. I appreciate...
Oh yeah, I'm glad we're friends. No, I don't hang out as often as I'd like because LJ's work is like grave shifts and I'm always up late. So, but we do hang out.
Yep. I mean, heck, before the show, we just watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was awesome!
What is Meso's thoughts on the 3D printing and modeling community? I love it. Keep it up. It's the best thing Bionicle is going for it right now. We didn't talk about that at all, but I'd love to. Shapeways. If you guys are ever bored, go on Shapeways and search Bionicle and just embrace the awesomeness that comes from that. What?
Oogle. Oogle it all is a fantastic...
Oogle.
It's a word.
Google it. It's great. There's a lot of awesome stuff on Shapeways. Who is your waifu? I don't have one. Why won't you add me on Steam? I thought I did. I thought I added you, Sushi Yoda.
That's an awesome name.
If I didn't, I'm sorry. What's your favorite Rahi time traveling Muaka? BSO1 or HSO1? HSO1 because it's more needed. HF fans have to have somewhere to go for their lore. You know, Bionicle's lore is easily accessible. HF's isn't. Meso wins the next BMV. Meh. When there's like, I guess I could make a Journey to 1 music video.
Oh my goodness! Don't give him ideas, guys.
Oh, that might be interesting.
Oh, great.
What is your opinions on Cooking Hero Factory? Awesome show. Loved LJ's episode. I got a really great laugh out of that. Best Bionicle meme. I don't know about Bionicle memes. I like Avok Triggered, if that counts.
I think that counts. That's a good one.
Can you do gameplay with Meso on your channel? Yes, one day. Meso, do you think Evo Walker is the best set die? What's your favorite Lego color? Gold. Because it's best. It never ends everything.
Which gold?
Pearl Gold.
Come on, Meso. That's not a trope. Get real.
Ha 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 ha. Meso, are you a Solek fan? Obviously. Can you make Bionicle memes? Please no, I leave that to Fweffy. Do you think there should be a Glider G2? I guess you meant Galador. Oh yeah, Galador. Yes.
Oh,
I would
dear.
love a chance to see Galador get redeemed. What has been the darkest moment you ever experienced being part of any community? Oh boy, the darkest moment.
That's a
Probably
really
when
good
Metroids-
question.
Probably when Nintendo did a really awesome celebration for Zelda's 25th anniversary and then Metroids came around and it was crickets. That was pretty depressing.
Oh gosh, yeah, no, that was
Is
pretty
Meso's
bad.
YouTube profile pic a real size comparison with LJ? No, it's just a comic panel that I find hilarious. Hero Factory reference. Are you excited for the Praise the Sun amiibo? Yes, I am. Gonna buy it. Kevin Hinkle says, I thought I added you, Sushi Yoda. Hashtag Meso quotes.
That's a hashtag I'd like to see.
Printers HF had lore? Yes! It had books and comics and a TV show. 5 years of lore. It did exist. It was great.
Guys, every time he says lore, he holds up air quotes, okay? Don't take him seriously.
What did you initially think of Bionicle Revolution before we learned of what was going on behind the scenes? Eljay will remember this. I was actually excited for it.
Yep,
I thought it was commendable that someone was going to make a full-length Bionicle movie, completely independent of the person himself or his attitude towards things or even the actual quality of the work. I thought it was cool, full-length movie. Heck yeah, I'll watch it. It's going to be great. Now, what ended up happening was it got canceled, the script got leaked, and it was the most funny thing ever. That's what I'll say. It was a hilarious script, and we had a lot of fun reading it over on TV. What is your opinion on spider GIFs? I love them. Please email them to Eljay Johnsen.
Do not. No spider GIFs.
Enclose every question with a spider GIF.
No. I think that would kill me.
And synthesizers are a real instrument. I like real instruments. Do you know DeWay? Yes. Pink Floyd or Led Zeppelin? Neither. I don't like either of them.
Nice.
Okay. No, I'm kidding.
This question from Kevin, I think we're going to cap it at this one.
Yeah. Can you do another insanely fast yet perfectly spoken rant about something? Pitch me a topic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hang on. I got it. Hang on. It's Evo Walker.
Evo Walker. Okay, so here's the thing about Hero Factory. It had a lot of cool sets, and Invasion from Below tried to do a lot of cool new things with the franchise, like integrating minifigures. But what Evo Walker did was not do a real good set. It instead chose to do a really poor set that really didn't have good construction, but it did have a minifigure and a few spiders, which was kind of a rip off of Bionicle playset, which also had spiders. The thing about Evo Walker is it didn't really function standalone. It was kind of like a wonky little construction thing that when I look at it, I just want to punch it in the face and smack it off a bookshelf because it's a disgrace to the set. I would want to smack it off a bookshelf, but I never even bought it because it's a waste of my money. And I instead bought Job Users as a Stormer, which was only a $10 set, which was really awesome, but I instead bought Protectors in G2, which are much better designed sets. They were as much more models ever, and they really shine a light on how poor Hero Factory set construction was near the end of things. Because the Protectors were awesome models that really had a lot going on for them, including the little Skull Spider, which is better than the 3 little spiders they enclosed in Hero Factory. Because the Protectors were awesome little sets that really shine a good light on how you do set construction for construction figures. Evo Walker was a disgrace and deserves to be burned in a fire. I hate Evo Walker more than I do Solek.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and end that there.
Yes.
All right, Well, it's been a fun couple of hours. Once again, for the third week in a row, this is my longest episode.
Woohoo!
So, yeah, it's been fun. Thanks for being here, Meso. I really appreciate you taking the time.
No problemo. I had a lot of laughs. Sorry if I over-ranted at times.
No. I think everything worked out, and hopefully you'll be open to coming back, eh?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Next week, how about it? Let's talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm sure you don't have anyone else scheduled. It's just so you can bounce them off.
I'll have my people call your people.
Also, I feel unsatisfied because Meso hasn't mentioned country dubstep. Everyone, search on YouTube, Cotton Eye Joe, Gregorian chant, dubstep, and feel your life opening up.
I have to
give you spiritual enrichment.
I have to stop this before it goes any further. All right, well, thank you, Meso. Thank you to everyone who listened, either live or after the episode has come out, hopefully later tonight. And especially thanks to everybody who sent in questions via email, Twitter, or the YouTube live chat. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you've had as much fun as I have today. It's been a great time. So once again, thank you all so very much. If you have any other questions over the week, go ahead and send them in to ljjohnson@gmail.com. And if you want any updates, including guest announcements every Tuesday, head on over to Twitter @the Eljay Johnsen. Remember, that's Johnson spelled with an E, not an O. And I'm talking about the E at the end, not the O in the beginning. You know what I mean, guys. Gosh. So once again, thank you all so very much for listening. And we will see you all again next week. You have a great day.
Thanks for having me on the Eljay Johnsen Show.
Okay. Yeah. Goodbye.
Eljay Johnsen, I didn't ask for this.
Why do you do this?